Habbo Hotel is inhabited by pedophiles. It amounts, says one critic, to a children's brothel.
It's hardly a secret that Habbo has had a problem with pedophiles. But what would happen if a pedophile owned the entire server? That's exactly what happened here in Sweden. The year is 2003. Habbo was just released in Sweden. But wait, what's that? Everything in the game costs money? Because of this, private servers, also known as retros, seemed very appealing. And why wouldn't they? You could build cool rooms without stealing your mom's credit card. Among the people creating these types of servers was our antagonist, Vincent, also known as Vin. He launched GT Hotel in 2011 and it was an instant success. The official Swedish servers pretty much died on the spot. GT could have anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 players online at a time, while the official server would be somewhere around the 50 to 200 player range. Following this, Habbo closed down their server in Sweden, as they could not compete with this private server. Fast forward to 2014. A 12-year-old girl is reported missing on the news, social media, and also Flashback. Now, for all of you not familiar with Flashback, it is Sweden's biggest internet forum and a great source for inside information in criminal cases. So I took the liberty of translating parts of this thread for us to read.
This is really insane because I know both the girl and the man. The man is 23 years old and his name is Vincent.
Vincent has previously been banned several times from the original Habbo Hotel from hitting on young children and teenagers.
I was just informed by a friend of mine who used to play this game a few years ago that Vincent has been together with someone named on the game who was 14 years old at the time of their relationship.
The girl had said no and shoved Vincent away several times when he made his approaches, which resulted in a rape.
Vincent grants rank to people playing on his hotel, meaning they become staff. The girls in question, he gave this rank in exchange for naked pictures of themselves. I also want to mention that Vincent does this systematically as he has always been in relationships with underage girls with the average age of 14.
Now the hotel is up again, but hosted at a different location. This can only mean one thing, and that is that he's not alone involved in these crimes.
70 pictures of child pornography.
Before the cops could take the server down, Phonix and Vincent transferred all the files to their new server hosted in Amsterdam and deleted everything on the old server. They have now deleted everything, logs, etc.
He was later sentenced to 2 years prison and a 10k euro fine. And that was that, right? He did his prison time, paid his fine, and life moved on. I mean, 2 years is very fucking mild for messing around with kids to begin with. Of course not. This is Sweden. We promote tolerance and acceptance. Love is love. The defense attorney appealed the sentence to the Court of Appeal, and won, as they deemed Vincent immature for his age. He was later released and no fine had to be paid. And there was no media coverage about this, no protests, no outrage, no feminists demanding justice, nothing. But I guess I shouldn't expect too much from a country where the school system teaches 9-year-olds about butt sex. Later, when Vincent arrived home, he found his way to the forum thread discussing his case, and decided to write the dumbest explanation I have ever seen in my life. Take a look.
It is probably unusual for someone convicted of something as horrible as me comes forward with their story, but I feel like I need to get this out or I will never find peace. This has been one of the most difficult things I've been through. When I disappeared from everyone and got to sit completely isolated and alone for 2 months. I laid alone in bed and tried to sing along to the song Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran at least once per day every day since the song was played so often, but it was hard since I did not know the lyrics very well and had to instead guess how the text went. I have no one to blame but myself in my naive actions, but after all this I am exhausted. Normally I am a very happy guy, I love music and that always makes me very happy. On all pictures I am always wearing headphones and I was scared to lose that during my time in jail. I could not think about anything, I had issues eating and sleeping, my heart was bolting in a weird rhythm, it was not even possible to cry and sometimes I just wanted to slam my head against the wall. This was not supposed to happen. How could it end like this? Me and the girl stayed up many nights and just wrote and wrote. We both had a Tumblr blog and blogged each other's pictures, and the days just passed. Every day we wrote with each other, and who could suspect something was wrong? And whose fault is it really? She defended me as much she could. She only thought about how I felt during the time I was in jail, and I found that out later when I got to see the interrogation of her from the police. I don't know where to direct my anger because I only got myself to blame. I should have known better. We decided to meet up, and a lot of people knew about it. I drove 10 hours from Stockholm to Luleå, and we both looked forward to it. Everything was good. I stepped out of the car and we hugged and later took a walk and talked about all kinds of things, still too shy to look each other in the eyes, but everything just felt so good at the time. Until the last day arrived, when her mother reported her missing. But she was with me the entire time and had just not contacted her mother. The cops found us by looking through her computer to see who she had been in contact with recently, and then they found both name and picture of me, so it did not take long until they found us. But none of us thought it would end like it did. Both she and I were very shocked when the cops opened the door with flashlight and gun, which we thought it was, but it was just pepper spray. They yelled at me and gave me a look like I was the worst human being in the world. I still knew nothing until the cops yelled, "She's fucking 12 years old, you're going to prison." I only had a few seconds to grab my jacket and shoes because if not they would drag me out. They did this even though I stressed to put my clothes in, which resulted in deep bruises on my shoulder and wrists after the arrest, even though I made no resistance at all. I was shocked and barely understood what had happened. The girl was not who I thought she was. Not gonna write anything more about the girl because she had to go through enough and does not deserve this. It was the first time in my life I had to sit in jail, and it was not really the most comfortable thing I've been through, which I also did not think it would be. You have to sit all alone in a small room with nothing but your thoughts. There was a window which you could not look out through, a lamp on the roof that never went dark, and a toilet you had to call for staff to enter. So it was just me and my thoughts spinning around constantly in my head, and also my heart building in a weird rhythm. All I could do was to lay down on the cold, hard bed and try to shut my eyes. When I arrived to prison, everything was a lot better. You finally got some routines and got to keep track of time. The room had its own toilet, TV and radio. I immediately turned on the radio and tried to find NRJ, then it was just to turn up the volume to max and start preparing my room. I have to say the staff in Luleå are probably the best I ever encountered. They really cared and helped the best they could. I had no lenses and there was twins working there, so I first thought I saw double haha. It was pretty funny because they looked identical. When it was time for the trial, after sitting isolated for 2 months, I started feeling very bad. I had never attended a trial before. Many thoughts spinning around in my head. How does it work? Who will be there? And imagine having to repeat everything that happened in smallest detail. I got struck with anxiety and a depression started forming. Days before trial, the staff managed to get me a psychiatrist since I felt I could not handle it anymore. That's when he thought I needed medication to help me since I could not talk because of my thoughts. As if that was not enough, the cops found pictures from 2 of my previous relationships that I had saved for many years, and the age difference between us was very small, and it was very stupid of me to save the pictures, of course. I became very tired of the medication, but it helped me a lot because without it I was very sad and I felt like I just wanted to leave this world. It was pretty scary because I never had thoughts like that before. I also forgot to mention I met a very nice priest. She let me get things off my chest. Even though it was only once per week, it felt great because I really needed that. Thanks so much for the days you visited me. You know who you are. I have a lot more to say, but I feel like no one will read this if I type everything, if anyone will even bother reading this. But I also want to say I met a lot of different people. Many of the people in prison were very nice and only had bad luck or a tough childhood. The people I felt most sympathy for were the people facing deportation, especially a guy who could not speak English or Swedish. No one spoke with him and he had not even received a toothbrush. There was also another guy facing deportation and had sat in prison over 15 months. Imagine yourself, over 15 months. He was talking constantly and I understand him. You get to experience so many things and get a different view on life when everything gets taken from you and you notice life is more than material things and wealth. I promised I would write about you and now I have. I hope you see this even though you would not understand. The day I got to go home was such a relief. It felt like they finally had listened to me, which they had not done in the district court. What a long read and also text. I want to thank everyone that supported me. You know who you are and what you did for me meant everything when I sat on the other side, even if some of you received crap for knowing me. Even the cops who interrogated, my lawyer Nicholas and the prosecutor were super nice, and I can't forget the staff and the prison in Luleå. Here is my story, and if you read this far I want to thank you. Now I can finally find some peace. Vincent.
I don't know what kind of mental gymnastics you have to go through to paint yourself as the victim. Did this guy actually believe anyone would feel sorry for him? I have no words. I don't know if I should laugh or cry. Following this, he kept running his Habbo server all the way from 2014 to 2019, when it eventually closed due to low population. And only God knows what might have happened during those 5 years. At least we can comfort ourselves with the fact that he's a fucking loser who's 30 years old and lives at home with his mom. She must be very proud of him.